Hello and welcome to WildGrass Library of Tutorials, and in this tutorial we are going to continue our journey on expenses, how to enter expenses, how to add them, and how to create bills so that we can keep track of how much our business is spending and also help us understand how much money we're actually making when we compare it to our revenue. Okay, so let's get a move on. Alright, so I already have my application open here, and I am logged into my Pancake Factory business, and we're on the quick select counter right here. Okay, so we can just click add bill and we will jump straight to our add bill here. Another way we can do this is by first clicking here where it says bookkeeping, and then we come down to purchases and then we click add bill. Okay, so now here in our last tutorial we looked at how to enter expenses. So this is a list of the expenses which I have entered into my system. I can easily add more by clicking here on new expense, and here I can manage my expense categories. I can add a new one, I can edit, and I can delete. So you have full control over everything. All right, so back to our tutorial. Okay, so purchases. So here we're saying add bill. So on top here we have the option to say we're entering an expense or we're entering a product. So maybe we're buying products, we are stocking. So let's say, for example, I can come here and say let's go to this category, and then I tap in and say Canon camera. Yeah, so here I have a list of all the products that are inside this category here, which we have selected. So here are the details of the Canon, and then how many have we purchased. Let's say we have purchased 50 of them, right? And how much have we bought. So we can either set the price as per unit, so we're saying we're buying 4,000 per unit, or if you want, you can set overall to say how much have you spent on all those 50. But for now, let's keep with the per unit, and let's say VAT is included in the price, and let's add this to our cart. Okay, awesome. Next, let's add a couple of expenses. So like we have seen here, we have a list of our expenses, and we can very easily add these expenses to our cart here. So let's come and say transport allowance, which is one of our expenses here. This is our transport allowance, and I have just selected it and added it here. So I can then set the quantity and say, okay, transport allowance for a team of 5, and we add it. So this adds up to this amount here. So I want us to note that here the transport allowance, the price is fixed to say this is how much per unit we pay for weekly transport allowance, and then others are left blank. They're left flexible because the amount may vary, like talk time. You don't always buy the same amount of talk time. The amount does vary. So let's come back here and let's try something that has a figure that varies. So let's say talk time. Okay, beautiful. So now here we then have two options to say we can enter how much we have spent. So here I can say 66, and we can add that now to our cart to say talk time. We have spent 66. Or let's say we go and say let's go back to marketing activity, and we say lunch allowance. All right, there we go. And how much are we spending per person? Let's say 120, and then the quantity, let's say for 5 people, and then we add that, right? All right, so now moving on. So here I'm sure you've noticed this is slightly blue, and then this is gray. So gray is for the products, and then blue is for the expenses. So it means that this product we are adding 50 into our stock, but this expense we're just stating that this is how much we spent so that we can account for it. Okay, Now we can enter a new expense, because it's not every time you want to enter things which you've saved before. So let's go to new expenses and say donuts, right? We have spent money on donuts. Let's put it under petty cash and say we have spent 120 kwacha on donuts, and I don't want to save this expense for later, but yeah, so once I add to cart, here we have it, donuts, and we have spent 120. So basically we can enter expenses into our cart without needing to save them first here, without needing to create them. We create them so that it is easy for us to just tap on them for recurring expenses that we often make. So now we come to the last part here. We have the option to either generate a receipt, or to specify, to say this was a receipt, like it was a cash transaction, we have already paid for this, or to come here under invoice to say that we are still owing the supplier money for this, right? So for now, let's go ahead and create a receipt, and here we enter the receipt number, which is on the receipt we received from the transaction. You can specify if they gave you a discount, or let's say maybe they gave us a discount of 100 kwacha. If there were any additional costs, you can specify the date which the transaction happened, because maybe you are entering a transaction that happened over the weekend and it's a Monday or something like that. And then you can specify how you paid. So we can say, okay, we've paid via, let's leave it as cash. We paid cash. And lastly, here we can specify the supplier who we purchased from. This is optional, by the way. You can just leave this unchecked and move on. But if you want to maintain a sales account for your supplier, to say I bought this from you and this from you, it will be useful for you to specify them at this stage. All right, so we can just come here and say, okay, we bought this from Timothy, and you're done. Or you can enter a new supplier. You have that option, but for now we'll leave it as Timothy. Once you're happy with this, all you do is click complete and your transaction will be processed. So what it's basically doing is that it's getting all of these items here and it is adjusting. So it's going to update your inventory, and it's going to update your expenses, as well as update your suppliers account. And if this was an invoice, it will also update our accounts payable to tell us that, oh, we owe this supplier this amount of money because we purchased this and this and this. Okay, so let's have a look at what has actually happened here. So let's see. We can let's go back to our product. Let's see, let's come back here and let's go to our Canon printer. Okay, so this is now the quantity of our Canon printer, but this is the quantity now. So I want to figure out whether this quantity actually increased. So let's go to our history, and here under history we have Canon printer, and here we're seeing that it has we have an update of 50. So we're seeing that Timothy added 50, changing the quantity from 2,916 to 2,966 because of the purchase we are from making. So it has updated our inventory. So if we go to our purchases account, let's come back, and here it's going to show us this is the 17th. All right, so here it is. We said it's a cash transaction, and here we are. These are our donuts, the Canon printer, and the expenses which we have made. So everything has been accounted for correctly and with considerable ease. So here we go. That is our interface for the bill. You have the option of selecting an existing expense or entering a new one and clicking to save, so that next time you can just add it. You have then the option to then say, actually, I've bought a product, I have added new stock, but then you want to specify to say I bought it at this much, so that we can keep track of how much you're spending, but also update your inventory. We're able to do that too. And we have also updated your supplier account for your sub-supplier, because if you come here, we have the transaction reflecting here. Donuts from Timothy Lubinga. Okay, thank you so much for watching and following through our tutorial. If you do have any questions, please let me know. And if some of these functions are not available to you, please be sure to update your WildGrass package, because a lot of these functions are only available in the latest version. So please be sure to update your WildGrass application. If you're having challenges updating your WildGrass application, please let us know, but it should be a very simple process.